Have you ever felt like your heart was carrying a weight so heavy it's impossible to breathe freely? That silent burden, often invisible to others, drains your energy in ways you barely notice at first. Emotional attachment can feel like love, loyalty, or hope, but deep down, it is a chain that holds you hostage. You keep reaching, waiting, and giving, even when every part of you screams for freedom. This invisible prison steals your peace, blurs your vision, and traps you in a cycle of pain you can't seem to escape. It's not just heartbreak, it's the quiet exhaustion of carrying someone else's emotional storms as if they were your own. The truth is, emotional attachment is far more than a feeling. It's a force that hijacks your mind and spirit without permission. It activates your brain's pain centers, keeping you locked in a loop of longing and disappointment. Your body reacts as if you've suffered a physical injury, flooding you with stress hormones that rob you of joy, clarity, and energy. This silent damage erodes your confidence and dims your light, slowly turning vibrant hope into heavy despair. But here's the most important truth. You don't have to live this way. Breaking free from emotional attachment isn't about shutting down or becoming cold. It's about reclaiming control over your heart and mind so you can finally breathe again. Imagine waking up without the ache in your chest, without the constant replay of painful memories, without the need to search for answers that never come. Imagine a life where your peace isn't dependent on someone else's presence or approval. That life is possible, and it starts with recognizing the cost of what you're carrying. The energy you give to attachment drains your power to grow, to dream, to love yourself fiercely and fully. When you choose detachment, you're not giving up on love. You're choosing a deeper love for yourself. This choice brings clarity, strength, and a renewed sense of purpose. It is the beginning of a transformation where you step out of the shadows of pain and into the light of freedom. Throughout this video, you will discover 5 powerful rules that will help you detach emotionally from someone holding you back. These rules are not just steps, but lifelines, rooted in real understanding of how the mind and heart work. They are designed to protect your peace, rebuild your confidence, and restore your joy. The journey will not always be easy, but every moment you commit to these truths, you take back control. You become the author of your own emotional story instead of a victim trapped in someone else's narrative. So, if you are tired of feeling drained, confused, or stuck, stay with me. This is your invitation to break the chains, reclaim your power, and step into a future where your heart is free to heal, grow, and love on your terms. The path to freedom begins with awareness, and awareness begins right now. What if the power to break free has always been inside you, waiting quietly for you to claim it? Too often, we believe that our emotions control us, that we are helpless victims swept away by feelings we cannot contain. But science and experience reveal a different truth. Emotional detachment is not about shutting down, it's about choosing how you respond. It begins with understanding one simple fact. Your emotional world is not dictated by others, but governed by your own mind. This realization changes everything. When you grasp that your feelings are your own to manage, you step into a space of control and possibility. The first rule to emotional detachment is to recognize this power, to see that you are not a passive passenger in your emotional life, but the driver. This means every reaction, every moment of longing or pain can be met with intention. You are not powerless. This knowledge alone creates a profound shift. Fear begins to loosen its grip, and clarity emerges. The science behind this is clear. Psychological research shows that when people develop an internal locus of control, believing their actions influence outcomes, they experience less anxiety and greater well-being. Detachment comes from this place of strength, not weakness. It is a conscious decision to stop surrendering your emotional energy to someone who does not nurture it. This choice is an act of courage, a radical form of self-love. You are not rejecting love or compassion, you are rejecting the chaos and confusion that come from giving your heart to someone who drains it. This clarity empowers you to stop chasing what cannot be held, and instead start holding space for your own growth. When you realize that your emotions are yours to command, you naturally begin to create distance, not out of cruelty but out of respect for yourself. This boundary is essential because without it, attachment continues to consume your peace. Your mind and body deserve freedom from the exhausting loop of hoping for change that never arrives. Choosing detachment from this place of power changes your entire perspective. You start seeing your worth not through another's eyes but through your own. Your identity no longer depends on someone else's presence or approval. Instead, it is rooted in your own strength and values. This shift also rewires your brain's responses. Neuroscience shows that exercising control over emotional reactions activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and self-regulation, helping reduce emotional overwhelm. It creates a new habit of calm resilience. It is not easy, and it does not happen overnight. Doubts and old patterns will surface. But every time you remember that you hold the reins, you reinforce your power. You stop reacting to pain with desperation and start responding with intention. This new way of being opens doors to peace, clarity, and joy that attachment has kept locked. It is the foundation of emotional freedom, one that no one can take from you. The moment you step into this truth, you reclaim your heart. You begin to heal, and with healing comes the freedom to live fully on your own terms. Setting emotional boundaries is not just an act of defense. It is a declaration of your worth and a vital step toward reclaiming your peace. When you establish clear limits on what you allow into your heart and mind, you create a sanctuary where healing and growth can begin. Without boundaries, emotional attachment becomes a flood that sweeps away your strength, leaving you vulnerable and lost. Boundaries are the lines you draw to protect your mental space from the chaos of unhealthy connections. They are not walls to shut others out, but fences that safeguard your energy. Science confirms what intuition has always known. People who set firm emotional boundaries experience less anxiety, less burnout, and healthier relationships overall. These boundaries teach your mind and body what is acceptable and what is not. They prevent emotional exhaustion and guard your sense of self from being diluted or erased. The courage to say no to toxic emotional demands is a powerful act of self-care. It allows you to pause the endless giving that drains you and instead focus on restoring your own balance. Recognizing when to step back, when to protect your feelings from intrusion, is an essential skill in the journey to detachment. This practice frees you from being a constant emotional responder to someone else's drama or pain. Instead, you become a steward of your own emotional well-being. Boundaries require honesty with yourself about what you will tolerate and what harms you. They demand you face uncomfortable truths and resist the urge to justify or minimize your feelings for the sake of others. This is not selfishness, it is survival. Boundaries transform relationships from places of dependency and pain into spaces of respect and mutual care. When you uphold your limits, you send a clear message. Your peace matters. Your emotions are not a playground for manipulation or control. This shift empowers you to regain clarity and focus. It reduces the noise of conflicting feelings that attachment amplifies. The act of boundary setting rewires the brain's response to stress, calming the fight or flight reaction that attachment ignites. As your boundaries strengthen, so does your confidence. You stop fearing abandonment or rejection because your identity no longer hinges on being everything to someone else. Instead, you anchor yourself in self-respect and emotional autonomy. This foundation makes detachment not an act of despair but one of strength. The path forward becomes clearer when you protect your emotional territory fiercely. You learn to recognize early signs of emotional overload and respond with firm boundaries before pain takes root. With each boundary set, you reclaim pieces of yourself lost to emotional entanglement. You build a safe internal environment where healing can flourish and where love for yourself can grow without conditions. Remember, detaching emotionally does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and freedom over bondage. Establishing boundaries is the armor you wear on this journey, a powerful, loving defense that shields your heart until you are whole again. Your willingness to set these limits marks a turning point. It's the moment you stop sacrificing your well-being for someone else's emotional needs and start honoring the sacredness of your own. This choice reshapes your reality and lights the way toward lasting freedom. Obsessing over someone who causes you pain is a silent poison that seeps into every corner of your mind, stealing your focus and joy. When your thoughts are consumed by that person, your body floods with stress hormones that keep you trapped in a state of anxiety and emotional turmoil. This cycle feeds itself, growing stronger with every replay of memories, imagined scenarios, and what-ifs. The energy you pour into fixation is energy stolen from yourself, your dreams, your goals, your healing. But there is a way out. Shifting your attention from obsession to self-focus is a radical act of reclaiming your power. Redirecting your mental energy inward rewires your brain to release chemicals that soothe and uplift rather than stress and exhaust. Science reveals that when you engage in activities that nurture your passions, your brain rewards you with dopamine, a natural mood booster that helps break the chains of fixation. This shift isn't about ignoring the pain or pretending the attachment never existed. It's about choosing to prioritize your well-being over the endless loop of longing. When you focus on yourself, you create space for growth, clarity, and transformation. This self-focus becomes a shield against the pull of emotional entanglement. Small daily habits, whether it's dedicating time to a hobby, setting personal goals, or practicing self-care, are powerful tools in this process. Each moment spent nurturing yourself sends a clear message to your brain: your happiness and peace matter. This rewiring of attention not only calms your nervous system, but also builds resilience against future emotional storms. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of attachment, but as an active participant in your healing journey. This perspective fuels motivation and courage, enabling you to face discomfort without retreating into obsession. The more you invest in yourself, the less tempting it becomes to seek validation or comfort in someone who causes pain. This shift opens the door to genuine self-love and acceptance, which are essential for true emotional detachment. Focusing on yourself does not mean shutting others out or becoming indifferent. It means valuing your emotional energy as the precious resource it is. When you honor this, you no longer give away your power in the hope that someone else will fix your feelings or fill the emptiness. Instead, you become whole on your own terms. This transformation creates a powerful feedback loop. The stronger your self-focus, the easier it becomes to maintain boundaries, practice acceptance, and build resilience. It is a cycle that feeds your growth and protects your heart. Remember, detachment is a process, not a moment. It requires consistent effort to redirect your thoughts and feelings from fixation towards self-nurturing. But with each step, you reclaim pieces of yourself lost in attachment. You create a new narrative, one where your happiness is not tied to another but rooted deeply in who you are. This is the foundation of true freedom. The courage to shift your focus inward is the courage to choose peace, clarity, and power over confusion and pain. It is the key to unlocking the life you deserve, a life where your heart is yours alone to cherish and protect. Resistance to reality is one of the heaviest chains that bind your heart and mind, intensifying emotional attachment and prolonging pain. When you fight against what is, whether it's a person, a situation, or your own feelings, you create a storm inside yourself that only grows louder and more exhausting. This resistance feeds frustration, anger, and hopelessness, trapping you in endless loops of why and what if. But there is profound freedom in surrender, not giving up on life, but accepting it exactly as it is in this moment. Radical acceptance is not resignation. It is a powerful choice to stop wasting energy on battles you cannot win. It means embracing the truth of your experience without judgment or denial. Psychological research reveals that acceptance reduces emotional suffering and lowers stress by quieting the part of the brain that fuels resistance and emotional turmoil. When you accept reality, you step out of the fight-or-flight cycle and into a place of calm clarity. This clarity does not erase pain, but it changes your relationship with it. Instead of fighting your emotions, you observe them, allowing them to flow without grabbing hold or pushing away. This shift softens the intensity of attachment because you no longer feed it with resistance. Acceptance opens a space where healing can begin, where your energy is freed from the exhausting battle and redirected toward rebuilding yourself. It strengthens your emotional muscles, enabling you to face difficult truths without breaking. This courage to accept is a radical act of self-love because it acknowledges your pain without letting it define you. It allows you to hold your emotions with compassion rather than conflict. This practice does not mean you ignore boundaries or let toxic situations continue. On the contrary, acceptance clarifies what must change and what you can release. It removes the fog of denial and fear, revealing the path forward with precision. When you accept the reality of a person's impact on your life, without wishing it were different, you reclaim your power to decide what you will do next. This empowers detachment by dissolving illusions and false hopes that keep you tethered. The process of acceptance rewires your brain's response to stress and emotional pain, reducing the hold that attachment has over your nervous system. You build resilience not by avoiding reality, but by meeting it head-on, with open eyes and an open heart. This readiness to face what is transforms suffering into strength. Your emotional wounds begin to heal as you stop fighting against the truth and start working with it. Acceptance becomes the foundation of freedom because it ends the internal battle that drains your spirit. It allows you to choose peace over resistance, clarity over confusion, and growth over stagnation. Each moment you practice acceptance, you move closer to detaching emotionally from what no longer serves you. You learn that peace does not come from changing others or circumstances, but from changing how you relate to them. This realization lights the way forward, a path where your heart is free to breathe, heal, and reclaim its power. Choosing acceptance is choosing yourself. It is choosing a future where emotional freedom is not a distant dream, but a living reality you create with every breath. Emotional resilience is the cornerstone of true freedom. It is the strength that allows you to face pain, disappointment, and loss without being broken or defined by them. Building this resilience is not about avoiding hurt or pretending you are invincible. It is about training your mind and heart to bounce back stronger each time life knocks you down. This ability transforms emotional detachment from an escape into a powerful form of empowerment. Scientific research shows that emotional resilience can be cultivated through intentional practices, mindfulness, gratitude, and reframing your thoughts. Mindfulness anchors you in the present moment, cutting through the noise of overwhelming emotions and bringing calm to the chaos inside. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what remains, planting seeds of hope even in the darkest times. Reframing rewires your brain to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your happiness. These tools help you create a mental fortress that protects your peace and fosters healing. Emotional resilience changes how you respond to triggers that once sent you spiraling into pain or obsession. Instead of reacting with fear or desperation, you learn to observe your feelings with compassion and curiosity. This pause opens the door to choice, the choice to respond with strength rather than be swept away by old patterns. As your resilience grows, the grip of emotional attachment loosens. You stop seeing detachment as loss and begin to see it as a necessary step toward reclaiming your life. This shift fuels motivation and deepens your commitment to yourself. Resilience also nurtures patience. Healing is rarely linear, and setbacks are part of the journey. Each time you face a challenge and choose to keep moving forward, you build an unshakable foundation of inner strength. This foundation is what supports lasting emotional independence. When resilience becomes your default, fear loses its power to control you. You begin to trust your ability to survive pain and emerge whole. This trust replaces anxiety with confidence and confusion with clarity. Detachment no longer feels like a sacrifice, but a gift you give yourself. A space where your heart can breathe and your mind can rest. This process requires daily dedication. Small rituals like breathing exercises, journaling, or moments of quiet reflection reinforce your resilience muscle. Over time, these practices become habits that sustain your emotional freedom. Remember, resilience is not about being alone in your struggle, but about standing tall in your truth. It is about honoring your pain while refusing to be defined by it. Building emotional resilience is the ultimate act of self-love because it equips you to live fully, no matter what life brings. It is the difference between surviving and thriving. Choosing to strengthen this resilience means choosing a life where emotional attachment no longer controls your destiny. Instead, you become the steady, compassionate guardian of your own heart. This strength opens the door to peace, joy, and the freedom to love on your terms. Every moment you invest in resilience is a victory over the past and a bold step toward the future you deserve. Ignoring the need to detach emotionally is a dangerous path that slowly erodes your sense of self and steals your peace. When you choose to hold on tightly, even to pain, you allow emotional entanglement to take root deep inside. This silent surrender weakens your mind and body, often without you realizing how much it costs. The longer you ignore the signs, the exhaustion, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the more damage accumulates. Emotional attachment, when left unchecked, acts like a slow poison that wears down your confidence, clouds your judgment, and blocks your ability to see clearly. It drains your energy, leaving you depleted and vulnerable to further pain. Studies reveal that prolonged emotional stress can even impact your physical health, weakening your immune system and increasing the risk of chronic illnesses. Your body and mind are deeply connected. What weighs on your heart burdens your entire being. Ignoring the need for detachment is not just an emotional risk, it's a threat to your overall well-being. But the hardest truth is this: detachment does not happen by itself. It requires conscious choice in action. When you deny this need, you stay stuck in a painful loop that only deepens over time. You replay memories, feed hope that won't be fulfilled, and sacrifice your own growth for someone else's absence or inconsistency. This self-neglect is a betrayal of the love and respect you deserve. Recognizing the danger is the first step toward freedom. Understanding that emotional entanglement is a form of self-harm opens your eyes to the urgency of change. Your well-being cannot wait for someone else's behavior or feelings to shift. It depends on your willingness to protect your heart now. The decision to emotionally detach is an act of survival and renewal. It is the boundary that saves you from drowning in pain. When you acknowledge this truth, you empower yourself to take the steps necessary to reclaim your life. This awareness fuels the courage to let go, to set boundaries, and to refocus on yourself. It breaks the illusion that attachment is unavoidable or permanent. You become a warrior, defending your peace against the chaos of dependency. Ignoring the call to detach leaves you exposed to ongoing hurt and confusion. But answering that call, choosing detachment, means stepping into a life where your emotional energy is guarded and honored. It means no longer sacrificing your happiness for the comfort of familiarity or false hope. The moment you stop ignoring your own needs is the moment healing begins. Your mind clears, your heart softens, and your spirit regains strength. This clarity enables you to rebuild your identity on a foundation of self-love and resilience. The truth is that ignoring the necessity to detach only delays your freedom and prolongs suffering. Choosing to face it, even when it is painful, is the most profound act of courage you can make. It sets the stage for transformation, a life where your peace is no longer hostage to someone else's presence or absence. This choice is the turning point that leads you from exhaustion to empowerment, from confusion to clarity, and from pain to peace. Your well-being is worth this fight. Your future depends on it. Emotional triggers are the invisible strings that pull you back into pain, keeping you tied to the past and to people who no longer serve your growth. These triggers ignite automatic responses, anger, sadness, anxiety, that hijack your mind and flood your body with stress. Understanding these triggers is crucial because they are the root of why emotional detachment feels so difficult. They are not weaknesses. They are survival mechanisms shaped by your history and experiences. Your brain reacts to these triggers as if you are facing a real threat, flooding you with adrenaline and cortisol, keeping you stuck in fight, flight, or freeze mode. This reaction is exhausting, and it reinforces attachment by making the pain feel immediate and inescapable. But knowledge is power. When you begin to recognize your emotional triggers, you take the first step toward disarming them. Awareness creates a gap between stimulus and response, a moment where you can choose how to act instead of reacting on autopilot. Tools like deep breathing, grounding techniques, and mindful self-talk become weapons against these automatic reactions. They help calm your nervous system and bring you back to the present moment. This is where healing begins. When you refuse to be controlled by your triggers, you reclaim your emotional freedom. You start to build new neural pathways, habits of calm, intentional responses instead of impulsive reactions. This rewiring rewrites your emotional story. The process requires patience and compassion toward yourself because triggers often stem from deep wounds. But every time you pause, breathe, and choose peace, you strengthen your ability to detach emotionally. You create a safe inner space where you can observe your feelings without being overwhelmed. This space is your sanctuary, where the past loses its power to dictate your present. Over time, this practice diminishes the hold of emotional attachment, replacing chaos with calm, confusion with clarity. Recognizing and managing your triggers also sharpens your emotional intelligence. You become more aware of your boundaries and better equipped to protect them. This awareness prevents you from slipping back into old patterns of dependency and suffering. Emotional detachment grows from this foundation of self-awareness and self-regulation. It transforms from a distant goal into a lived experience of peace and control. You learn that freedom is not about erasing feelings, but about mastering your relationship with them. Your triggers no longer chain you to pain, but become signals guiding you toward healing. This shift elevates your emotional resilience and deepens your self-love. It empowers you to live fully and authentically, no longer at the mercy of past wounds or others' actions. Detaching emotionally becomes an act of radical self-respect and protection. Every moment you practice this awareness, you reclaim your heart from the grip of pain and fear. You step into your power as the author of your own emotional reality. This journey transforms not only your relationship with others, but the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as a gift we give to others, but its deepest power lies in what it frees within ourselves. Holding on to resentment and anger keeps your heart chained to pain, preventing the release necessary for true emotional detachment. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened or pretending the hurt never existed. It is a conscious choice to let go of the toxic emotions that keep you tethered to suffering. This release creates space for healing and peace to enter your life, Psychological research shows that forgiveness reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and improves mental health. It dismantles the walls of bitterness and opens a pathway back to emotional freedom. When you forgive, you take back control from the pain and reclaim your power. This act is one of the most courageous forms of self-love because it requires facing your wounds honestly and deciding they will not define you. Forgiveness shifts your energy from being a prisoner of past wrongs to being the architect of your future. It breaks the cycle of replaying harm and allows you to move forward with clarity and strength. Choosing forgiveness means you refuse to carry the burden of anger and hurt any longer. It means recognizing that holding on to these feelings only prolongs your suffering. This realization propels you toward freedom because peace is found not by changing the past, but by changing your response to it. Forgiveness also helps detach your identity from victimhood. When you let go of blame and bitterness, you begin to see yourself as resilient, whole, and capable of love beyond pain. This shift fuels confidence and heals the deep wounds attachment leaves behind. Forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. It may take time to fully release deep-seated emotions, and that's okay. Each moment you choose to forgive, whether silently or through intentional practice, you weaken the hold that pain has over your heart. You reclaim pieces of yourself trapped in anger and sorrow. This ongoing commitment to forgiveness nurtures your emotional well-being and strengthens your ability to detach healthily. It clears the path for new growth, new relationships, and a renewed sense of self. Remember, forgiveness is not about reconciliation or allowing harm to continue. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of past hurt so you can live fully and freely. This freedom ignites a powerful transformation, one where your heart is no longer weighted by resentment but uplifted by compassion and peace. The moment you choose forgiveness, you choose yourself. You say yes to healing, to growth, and to love that is not dependent on past wounds. Forgiveness plants the seeds of emotional detachment by dissolving the chains of anger and grief. It empowers you to live with an open heart, resilient, and free. This choice is a profound act of strength that rewrites your emotional story and opens the door to the peace you deserve. Forgive not for others, but for the sacredness of your own soul. In this act, you reclaim your power and step fully into your freedom. When emotional attachment takes hold, it often clouds your sense of identity, making you forget who you truly are beneath the weight of someone else's influence. Detaching emotionally is not just about letting go of feelings, it is about reclaiming your authentic self. Attachment can blur your values, your dreams, and your sense of worth because it shifts your focus outward, tying your happiness to another person's presence or approval. This loss of self can feel disorienting and frightening, but it is also the invitation to rediscover who you really are at your core. The first step in reclaiming your identity is to look inward and reconnect with your own values and passions, those deep parts of you that remain untouched by attachment. Psychology teaches us that a strong sense of self is the foundation for emotional resilience and healthy relationships. When you realign with your true self, your decisions become rooted in your needs and desires rather than someone else's expectations or behaviors. This clarity restores your confidence and frees you from the confusion and doubt that attachment breeds. Reclaiming your identity also means forgiving yourself for the ways attachment may have altered your path. It means accepting that you did your best with the tools you had and allowing yourself to start anew with greater awareness. Practices like journaling, meditation, and self-reflection help you peel back layers of emotional noise to hear your inner voice clearly. These tools reconnect you with your essence, revealing strengths and dreams that attachment has overshadowed. As you rebuild your identity, you cultivate a fierce love for yourself that is independent and unwavering. This self-love anchors you, making it easier to maintain boundaries and choose detachment without guilt or fear. Your worth no longer depends on others but on your inherent value as a whole and capable person. This internal shift rewires your brain to seek fulfillment from within, reducing reliance on external validation. It transforms emotional detachment from a painful loss into a liberating gain. You begin to see detachment as a return home, to the person you were always meant to be. This process is not instantaneous. It requires patience, courage, and commitment to consistently nurture your relationship with yourself. You will face moments of doubt and old attachments trying to pull you back. But each time you choose your identity over attachment, you reinforce your freedom. Reclaiming your identity is a profound act of self-empowerment that sets the stage for lasting peace and joy. It allows you to step into the future with clarity, strength, and authenticity. Your heart becomes a sanctuary where your true self can thrive, unburdened by the past or others' expectations. This reclaimed identity is the foundation upon which emotional detachment rests, a foundation built on self-awareness, self-respect, and self-love. When you fully embrace this truth, detachment becomes not an ending but a powerful new beginning. It is the rebirth of your spirit, the awakening of your freedom, and the triumph of your soul. This is the journey back to you, the most important journey of all. Healing from emotional attachment requires patience and gentleness with yourself because true transformation unfolds over time. It's not a race or a sudden switch. It is a gradual process of unlearning old patterns and cultivating new ways of being. Often, we expect instant relief or immediate peace, but the mind and heart need space to adjust and grow. The pressure to just move on can deepen pain and create resistance. Instead, embracing the pace of your own healing honors the complexity of your emotions and the depth of your experience. This patience is an act of kindness that softens the harsh inner critic telling you to be stronger or quicker. It reminds you that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Healing also involves gentleness, treating yourself with the same care you would offer a dear friend in pain. You may feel tempted to punish yourself for attachment or past choices, but self-compassion is the balm that soothes wounds and nurtures growth. Psychological studies confirm that self-compassion reduces anxiety and depression, and it builds resilience by fostering a supportive inner dialogue. When you speak kindly to yourself, you create a safe environment for emotional exploration and release. This environment is essential for detachment because it allows you to face difficult feelings without fear or shame. Healing transforms your relationship with pain from one of avoidance or battle into one of acceptance and learning. It teaches you that suffering is part of being human, but it does not have to control your life. Instead of resisting your emotions, you learn to listen to what they are telling you. What needs attention, what boundaries must be set, what values must be reclaimed. This attentive healing deepens your self-awareness and strengthens your emotional intelligence, equipping you to navigate future challenges with grace and strength. Gentleness and patience also mean forgiving yourself for setbacks. Healing is rarely a straight line. You may find yourself revisiting old wounds or slipping back into patterns. This is normal and does not mean failure. It means you are human, learning and growing. Each return to compassion and patience reinforces your progress and builds your resilience. The journey of healing from attachment is a powerful act of self-love and courage. It creates the fertile soil where peace, clarity, and freedom can take root and flourish. This process allows you to emerge from the shadows of dependency into the light of autonomy and empowerment. Remember, healing is a commitment to yourself, a promise to honor your emotions, respect your needs, and protect your heart. It is a daily choice to choose growth over pain, freedom over bondage. The gentle persistence of healing moves you toward emotional detachment not as a destination, but as a continuous practice of caring for yourself. This practice transforms detachment from a lonely loss into a sacred reclaiming of your power and peace. With patience and gentleness, you rebuild your life on a foundation of self-love that no external circumstance can shake. Healing completes the circle of detachment by turning pain into strength and loss into freedom. It is the final, most profound rule in freeing yourself from emotional attachment. In this healing, you find your true home within yourself, whole, strong, and free. True emotional detachment is not about becoming numb or disconnected from life. It is about cultivating clarity and balance in your feelings. It is the ability to experience emotions without being overwhelmed or controlled by them. This distinction is vital because many fear detachment as a loss of sensitivity or love. But emotional detachment is, in fact, the mastery of your inner world. It allows you to engage fully with life while maintaining the freedom to choose how you respond to your emotions. Psychological research highlights the importance of emotional regulation, the skill of managing your feelings in a healthy way, as a cornerstone of mental health and well-being. Developing this skill enables you to navigate pain, joy, fear, and love with grace and strength. Emotional detachment frees you from the storm of reactive impulses that attachment ignites. Instead of being swept away by waves of longing, jealousy, or fear, you learn to observe these feelings with calm awareness. This mindful presence reduces their intensity and diminishes their power over your actions. You become the observer of your emotions, not their prisoner. This shift transforms your relationship with yourself and others. You no longer seek validation or security from outside sources, but draw strength from your inner stability. This independence fosters healthier connections based on respect and mutual care rather than need and dependency. Emotional detachment also strengthens your resilience by helping you accept life's uncertainties without despair. When you no longer cling desperately to what cannot be controlled, you open to possibilities and growth. This openness invites peace and freedom into your heart. It is the difference between surviving emotionally and truly thriving. Detachment becomes a choice to live fully and authentically, free from the chains of past wounds or toxic attachments. This choice requires practice and commitment. It involves cultivating self-awareness, setting boundaries, managing triggers, practicing forgiveness, and embracing healing with patience and gentleness. These steps build upon each other to create a solid foundation of emotional autonomy. As this foundation grows, so does your capacity for love, not dependent or fearful love, but strong, compassionate love that honors both yourself and others. This love allows you to give without losing yourself, to care without becoming attached to outcomes. It is the highest form of emotional freedom. Remember, emotional detachment is not about isolation or